Okay, let's start with some shoulder shrugs.
Wonderful mum, wonderful wife, my soulmate, amazing person to be around and be with all the time. And that's why it's such a massive loss to have lost Jane in such a way.
On a Sunday morning, Jane Hickson was killed by a driver who'd gone through a red light. But for her husband, John, the grief was compounded by what he learned about that other driver. Because 6 months before he killed Jane, Paul Wright had tested positive for driving under the influence of cocaine. He remained free to drive because police were still waiting for the results of a confirmatory blood test. And Sky News understands that's not unusual. The backlog in blood testing leaving drivers who failed drugs tests on the road for months.
Well, obviously I don't want anybody else to go through this. I'm starting to rebuild my life. Me and my family are starting to rebuild our lives. But the fact is that those people are out there driving under the influence of drugs now, as we're sat here. So people are at risk, and I don't think that's acceptable.
With a bit of saliva in and around your mouth for me now.
Across the country, many police forces report they're now often arresting more drug drivers than drink drivers. This was in Bolton in Greater Manchester recently. With drink driving, though, police have the results almost immediately, and drivers are usually banned within days. Not so with drugs.
You're under arrest on suspicion of driving a motor vehicle while under the influence of cocaine.
This company provides police forces with those initial roadside drug swabs, but these kits used successfully in France and in Australia, testing saliva instead of blood, provide confirmatory results within days.
Saliva is a perfectly acceptable solution, and it can be processed in the laboratory much quicker, and one would hope would not be having these significant number of months delay. So if we could have an evidential confirmation within a week, we could maybe get them in court the week after, which is the same timescale as is acceptable at the moment for alcohol.
The National Police Chiefs Council told Sky News that it's been aware of difficulties in the processing of drug drive blood samples. Currently, it said, the majority of cases are being processed within 6 months. It said we're working closely with forensic providers to ensure that turnaround times on submissions are as efficient as possible to secure the right outcomes. A government spokesperson said drug testing is a complex forensic process that must meet strict legal and scientific standards. We're working closely with policing partners to improve efficiency while ensuring the integrity of results that support prosecutions. But any extra delay for those like Jane Hickson's husband and her sister is too long. For them, it's all the more traumatic because she died at a junction just metres from her home.
It's hard. It's hard to move on for something that was such a senseless way for Jane to die. And I think it's utterly avoidable, completely avoidable. And I think as a society we have to do something about it and accept that there are people out on the roads under the influence of drugs that need to be off the roads as soon as possible.
Greg Milam, Sky News.